Think I can. Hey, I think we're live. Now, literally every Bossier watch and every Louisiana watch, I say that, but tonight we're really testing it because I'm remote on my MacBook Pro trying to do a show. I'm in the middle of Jackson Parish with hardly any cell connection, but thanks to Elon Musk and Starlink, we're able to do Louisiana watch.
Louisiana Watch it is, and I have gotten no notification from Twitter, and I have gotten no notification from Zuckerberg either. So
Hmm. Well, maybe they're
maybe
just
we are
targeting
live.
you.
Maybe we're not. I don't know. But either way, we'll play like we are live. Okay, wait a minute. I just got a Facebook notification.
Okay, see, there you go.
So,
It says I'm literally checking right now. It says we're live. So, in theory, we're live. Now, whether we have any guests show up, who knows? We got
so
one
hey,
guest.
yeah. So hey, the Whitehorn Nickelson race over in Caddo Parish, that thing is heating up over there pretty good, and people are getting all hot and bothered over there.
Well, yeah, and of course, that's the primary topic of the show tonight. But, just to remind everybody, that's been a pretty contentious race so far. They had, went through the court system, they had to redo the election. It was like only decided by one vote. There was a lot of contention in that we saw at the trial if you read all those proceedings. And of course, there are some folks on Facebook that have a lot to say about that race. And I think that's going to be the subject of some of our conversation tonight.
Yeah, there's definitely been a social media war, and it seems like that is the modern day politics, and that's where things are done. It makes you wonder about what responsibility the candidates have in all things that go on politically in social media, because some of it is over the top, and I mean, good lord, do we want or Zuckerberg or regulating social media? I don't know. We talked about that on Bossier Watch on Tuesday, that the government was going after TikTok and probably going to regulate things more, which may end up enabling Facebook, making them stronger. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I mean, the whole government regulation thing is just a thorn in my side because while certainly Zuckerberg and Twitter, Elon Musk, and all that are no saints, I'm not so sure I want those same guys that we gripe about all the time in D.C. controlling the interwebs and social media as well. I think that arguably would be worse. And we do have some guests showing up, some viewers showing up. Donna Bartlett, Val Baker, of course, Christopher James Norris is joining us this evening, commenting. So that's good to see.
Yeah. So are we going to do the short break and
Yeah,
so
but
we can
I
kind
don't
of
think I'm
grab
going
it?
to do the countdown. Let's just do a little ad intro so we can help pay the software bill, and we'll come back into it, and then we'll get our guest to come on here in just a couple of minutes. How about that?
Sound like a plan.
All right, here we go. This live broadcast is brought to you by Eagle Truck Center, soaring to new heights. The Outdoor News, fishing and outdoors for our area. Acadiana Mortgage, over 23 years in the mortgage business. SmarterGeek, making technology easier. And the many supporters, donations, and folks sharing information and watching out. Now, grab your popcorn and a drink. Here we go. Goes a little bit quicker when there's no countdown, doesn't it, Mr. Lowry?
So much for sharing. Good grief.
Have to be fast on the trigger to do that.
All right. So, uh, you know, when we were talking about the social media war, and one group has, kind of popped out in front, as the social media war goes, and that is the Caddo Mama Bears.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a lot of accusations. There's been a lot of, I would say, call it rocks thrown. Um, so we've got I think the ramrod of the Caddo Mama Bears. I don't know, but we someone kind of at the center of all of the social media war, Lisa Massingill.
Well, let's just click a button and bring her on. Lisa, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Okay, great. Coming in loud and clear on your end as well. So glad to have you this evening.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So,
Glad to be.
are you in fact the leader of the Caddo Mama Bears?
I am the Caddo Mama Bear. I started this organization over a little over a year ago.
So, describe what the Caddo Mama Bears is. What exactly does your organization or Facebook group try to do?
Well, really, I started this kind of as an offshoot of a group, or kind of based on a group down in South Louisiana called Bayou Mama Bears. And they started during COVID because those moms were not happy about the COVID restrictions imposed upon them and their children. You know, that you got to mask your kids to go to school. You've got to, you know, they were demanding children be vaccinated, and so many people were opposed to that. And they fought successfully in court some of those mandates that the mayor of New Orleans was imposing upon children. And then once they accomplished those goals, Laura Rodrigue was the head of that. And ignore my loud dog.
That's okay.
They shifted over to crime. Laura Rodrigue works for the governor of Louisiana now, and she was an attorney, an ADA for the district attorney for like 13 years, and she is a staunch crime advocate against crime. And so they shifted over to crime in New Orleans, and that was kind of my heart because we have such a crime problem in Caddo Parish. Now, I need to declare right now, I don't live in Caddo Parish.
Ooh.
I actually live right across the state line. But everything that we do is in Caddo Parish. My husband works in Caddo Parish. I was born and raised in Caddo Parish. All of my friends basically live there. We grocery shop there. Our doctors are there. Everything we do, I'm passionate about it because you see it declining where you were raised and born, and you want it to be all that it can be and all of your friends to be safe. When we come over there to the grocery store, I don't want to be looking over my shoulder, right? And it does spill over into where I live. But so when we were tossing this around in Caddo Parish, because I have worked on Steve Prater's campaigns and I have all my friends over there, we were like, we've got to do something like they're doing. People don't understand what is going on with crime and how crimes are prosecuted in Caddo Parish. People don't understand that. So that is why I started Caddo Mama Bears, to bring to light how crime is going in terms of prosecutions and how crimes are, to shed light on that whole situation. And in order to make a difference with the prosecutions of crimes, you've got to understand the district attorney's office and who you elect to that office and their mentality and where they want to see crimes be prosecuted and how they are prosecuted. Because let's just call it what it is. We have a Soros-funded DA, and I don't think people understand. Everybody doesn't understand that and what has gone on in Caddo Parish. So I have been bringing that to light for over 12 months, and people had no idea. People had no idea how criminal justice reinvestment, that act that John Bell Edwards imposed upon the state of Louisiana, had an effect on crime. So that's what I've been doing.
All right.
So you didn't
go ahead, dude.
You didn't start Caddo Mama Bears because of the sheriff's race between Whitehorn and Nickelson.
No. But you have to if you want to make a difference with crime, you are going to have to get involved in elections because elections matter, do they not? Who you put in place in offices matters in those things such as crime, and who keeps them in the jails, and who puts policies in place, and who, puts laws in place. Your legislatures matter, so this office is very important for Caddo Parish. This is the highest elected official in terms of law enforcement in Caddo Parish. He controls a lot of money and a lot of policies and procedures. And we have someone running for office who wants to dogfight, who wants to enact bail reform, and who wants to let criminals go, who wants to clear the jail. That's a problem.
All right, so you mentioned those several times in describing, the Caddo Mama Bear's history and all that and how it came about. You mentioned several times the DA, who, if I remember correctly, is James Stewart over there.
Yes, he's James Stewart.
Okay, and so of course the DAs, I would argue the DA and the sheriff probably are kind of on par as far as law enforcement goes, because look, the sheriff can go out there and arrest all the people he wants. If the DA doesn't keep them behind bars or prosecute the cases, then that's a problem. So if you don't mind,
what does it do?
Yeah, so spend a minute and maybe can you give us some examples or some things that Stewart has done that are not really
examples.
Yeah.
How long do y'all want to talk about examples? So let's talk about a case that's recent that everybody can remember because it just happened. You know, the 1-year-old child that was just shot in the apartment complex, right? They've arrested about 4 or 5 people for that, correct? So usually what I do is on a typical day, I'm such a nerd at crime now. If I see someone arrested for something, I'll immediately go look up their name and see what kind of record they have. Have they been arrested before? If they were arrested, how was that case treated? Well, I think at least 2 or 3 out of those 4 or 5 that have been arrested have previous records. And so 2 of those people, I believe it's 2. I don't have it sitting right here in front of me. I have stacks of, people who their cases. But 2 of those people who were arrested were suspects in the July 4th homicides of that mass shooting on July 4th on Cooper Road, right? Mm-hmm. So they were arrested just days after those homicides. They were charged, one of them for certain was charged just 3 days after that shooting and charged with illegal, like a machine gun charge. He caught 2 or 3 charges. He was given a plea deal immediately, a plea deal, and just kind of swatted on the hand, as I like to call it, and it was immediately let out of jail. He served no time for that crime. And
wow.
Now here we are 6 months later, he's involved in the homicide of shooting up an apartment complex and killing a 1-year-old. Now, my understanding is, and I've read the public reports, so I'm speaking from a place of knowledge, I know that he was a suspect in those homicides on July 4th. It's in the reports. Nobody was arrested for those. And I have been told that the DA won't let them make those arrests. They know who did it. So these people who shot this 1-year-old are also likely the same people who made those killings on July 4th. Our district attorney is the only district attorney in the state of Louisiana you have to go through to get an arrest warrant for a murder. It's a detective could better explain it than me, but we have the only attorney and judges who do it this so difficult of a manner. And our district attorney will oftentimes say, no, go get me more, talking evidence, when all you really need is probable cause. And it's a problem. So it leads one to believe how many homicides were committed and it was a gang shooting related to gangs, were committed by these people between July 4th and February. And then we had a toddler killed. Does that make sense to y'all? You can see.
Yeah.
So, and that often happens. I could show you plenty of murder cases where you can look and go back and see where that individual, prior to being arrested for a murder, was slapped on the hand several times and let go without ever serving a meaningful sentence before they finally committed a homicide.
Now you're following these cases and all. Are you doing this for work? Are you making a living off of this or anything?
No, I just do it.
Okay, so well, because I saw some criticism of you And they said, I would almost say they were kind of suggesting that, oh, it's virtue signaling, that she cares about the black community, because a lot of these things, these incidents happen within the black community, and you're putting an emphasis on the black community, but they were somehow dismissive of that. And you're not doing this to make money. You're doing it to try to be helpful, but somehow or another, that's a negative. I mean, why is that?
Well, I don't know. You tell me. My husband's a physician. He's a cancer doctor. And we've raised our children. All they've known is growing up in a home where our lives revolve around making other people's lives better. And that all they've known is growing up, seeing people love on other people, and whatever you can do to make someone else's life better. That's all they know is compassion and love. And to watch people in the inner city not be able to be all that they can be, and to have to suffer and wonder, when is their child going to have to hit the floor or die or bury a child? I can't wrap my brain around that. Why we are not doing more to help them as a society and to stop this. It doesn't have to be this way. These innocent lives don't have to be lost. And I was kind of on the fence about starting this, but I went to a meeting where there was a group of mothers meeting. There were 19 women there who all had lost a child to homicide in Shreveport. Only one mother of the 19, her homicide of her child had been solved. All the others had not been solved. None of them didn't know what had happened to their child. And one mother got up and walked out because she was just so broken. Her child's homicide was real fresh. It was less than a year old, and it was a 15-year-old child. And he was gunned down in the middle of the street in Cedar Grove for no reason. And I've gotten to know her in the last 2 years. And a career criminal is the alleged suspect in that child's homicide that gunned her child down for no reason. And I am 99% certain, just like everyone else is, that is who killed her child. And I emailed you his record. Right. Bernard's the last one. He has been slapped on the hand over and over. The district attorney just dismissed in the last 6 months his gun charges, and ordered those guns destroyed that are likely evidence in the homicide of that child. And just getting to know her and how broken she was, her and her family, because they're just a normal family, just like you or me, trying to raise our kids and give them a chance, even though they live other people would call the hood. But I go into the hood. I've gone to their home and been to their home. They have since moved to Dallas to give their other children a chance. And we've helped them because we believe in them and we just want to help them. And that broke me to watch them so broken. And to see how egregious that case, that homicide has been handled by Shreveport police would break anyone. So I don't see color. And I think if people could learn to get past color, we can make a difference.
Well, look, I'll just go ahead and straight up say it. The fact of the matter is that in Shreveport, there are plenty of white folks that commit crime.
There are plenty.
I've been fortunate in my tech business over the years for a couple of decades. I have customers in the hood, and I have customers in Southern Trace and plenty of the other neighborhoods. And so, like you said, I've moved between the neighborhoods and all that. But the fact of the matter is, it seems like the murder rate, which is the highest thing, actually the violent crime rate between Shreveport and Bossier is about on par. Where Shreveport gets us, or is in the lead, is in the murder per capita rate. And
yes, the murder per capita rate.
And unfortunately, it seems, at least in the media, but if you go back and look at most of the murders and a lot of the shootings, it just seems like a lot of that, unfortunately, is in Shreveport itself and in the black community. And I don't know what we do to stop that. I mean, look, to be honest with you, I mean, I don't think James Stewart is a very good DA at all. But I don't think law enforcement is totally the way to stop this. It is like ingrained into the fabric of the community right now. And I don't want to get too far off on a tangent, but I did want to get on my soapbox for just a second that I fully support having a strict DA and trying to get crime under control and all that sort of thing. But I'm not sure that just locking people up is the answer either.
No, I agree with you. I made a video that started this whole she's a racist thing back in, I think in October, when I saw that there was a church going to sponsor a nonprofit group having a thing for Henry Whitehorn, right? And my stand on that was, where is this church the other 12 months of the year when there's not a campaign going on? Why are you not doing things for these children? Why are you not holding things to get them their education? Why are you not mentoring people? Why are you not offering them food to come to Sunday school instead of food for a vote? Because that, to me, is where we stop the crime problem. I mean, I don't know if you ever heard Sheriff Prater's 11-point plan that he had, where he talked about it's more than just locking people up. It's way more than that.
Right.
It's churches getting involved, teachers getting involved, people like me, like you, getting involved. That's what solves the crime problem. It's not just locking people up. There are terrible, violent people who need to be locked up and serve their time, and I am all about it.
Right.
But there's
you were onto something right there. Both of y'all, actually, y'all were onto something, and I think in a 1,000-foot view, what changed? Originally the church's role within communities was a whole lot more substantial than what it is today. In fact, a long, long time ago, the education of our society was based out of the church. Government took that away. Government took control of that, and I would contend that government has steered some communities, to where they have the violence that they have. I mean, it lays at their feet, in my opinion. But Rex, well, of course, I want to cue Rex up while he's got some distraction.
Yeah. So let me get on my soapbox for just another minute and bear with me. So I'm fortunate that some of the largest black churches in Shreveport and Caddo Parish are clients of mine. Okay. And I'm able to move in those circles. And we have these discussions. I'm not going to call them out because that wouldn't be great on a social media platform, but we have these discussions. Let me tell you, Duke, they are just as frustrated as we are having this discussion right now. Because look, let's face it, there are more churches per capita in Caddo and Bossier Parish than almost anywhere in the South. So it's not a lack of churches. And I know some of the churches that I deal with as clients are, like Lisa said, they're trying to give back to the community and trying to keep these kids off the streets and give them after school programs and all that. But you're right, Duke, you were onto something there, that something is broken in our society. I don't know about when it happened. I want to say it was probably sometime in the 90s, and now we're seeing the repercussions of all that. I don't know what the solution is, but I know that just locking people up is not the complete answer. Obviously,
it's not the whole answer.
Yeah, it's not the whole answer, but obviously we do need a DA that is going to have to be tough on crime, and obviously we need a sheriff that is going to be pretty darn tough on crime too. So, Lisa, why don't you take us down the path, because I could stay on my soapbox about this half the night. Why don't you take us down the path of Caddo Mama Bears and the current sheriff's race between Whitehorn and Nickelson? So kind of where does Caddo Mama Bears fit into that puzzle, and where do you as a group stand on that?
Well, obviously we support John Nickelson, and I do work on his campaign. And for me personally, I feel very accountable when I speak or say anything that I'm very accountable and a reflection of him when I speak. And I know I'm called a racist quite frequently, and I am anything but that. Um, but I've, I worked on Sheriff Prater's campaign for 2 years, for two or three campaigns. So I'm well seasoned to this, and I've seen all kinds of behavior, but I have never seen behavior like I have witnessed in the last 6 months, ever.
Well,
And
hold that thought, Lisa, because Rex, I want to go to that video that I
Yep.
have queued up, and I think that's the perfect segue. You know, you're saying you've never seen, and I think folks need to. I don't know that everybody has seen and have gotten a taste of what Lisa is talking about. And I went and found this video, and if you find foul language offensive, I would encourage you to either mute your audio at this time, um, or something. But you're going to hear it. I'm giving you fair warning right now.
All right, so let me make sure I play the right video. So you want the one with Whitehorn in it, or which one?
No,
no,
the
it's just the
very
guy in the
first
cowboy
one.
hat. Isn't it?
Okay, yeah, I got
The
it. So
first one, and go
Yeah.
to the 126 mark.
Okay, so
Yeah.
let me get Lisa back in here. Hold on just a second, Lisa. Let me get your picture. Okay. All right, and let me hit play. Yeah, so yeah, like Duke said, warning alert. There may be foul language. If you don't like it, plug your ears. All right, here we go. And just tell me when to stop, Duke.
Yeah! Mandigo and Lisa Massingill, bring y'all ass here. Yeah, yeah. Y'all don't scare nobody. Lisa Massingill, I know you watching this. I mean this in the most disrespectful ways possible. Fuck you. Yeah, fuck you, white bitch. Yeah, fuck you, Lisa
Wow.
Massingill. And share this on your page, Lisa Massingill. Fuck you.
All right. So we'll probably get deplatformed, but okay.
Well, he's on Facebook, so
Yeah,
I mean,
I
he's
agree.
he's posting this on Facebook. But anyway, keep going.
All right, here we go. Let's see. Let me. Yep. Everybody, plug their ears. Hide your kids.
Yeah, your hub and fuck him too. I don't feel sorry for them. Lisa Massingill, share this on your page too. We don't give a damn what you think about us in the black community. You are irrelevant in the black community. Don't worry about it. We on our way to Wascom and Jonesboro, Texas. Trust me, Lisa. You gonna see us, Lisa. Yeah, we come to Wascom in Texas and we protested in front of your house. We gonna have signs, racist white woman. Yeah. We got something for you, Lisa Massingill. Let me tell you something else, Lisa Massingill. Let me tell you something else too, yeah. Let me tell you something else. Yeah, let me go on the address since you like to share me a lot on your post, Lisa. Lisa, we got Patrick Young so scared to death. Patrick Young said, Lisa said she know us black folk don't show up to vote. So she ain't worrying about the sheriff race cause us black folk don't vote. She said only people that gonna vote is the older blacks. The young blacks ain't gonna vote. So we gonna win the sheriff race. Yeah, Patrick Young so scared to death, he telling me everything that Mama Bear got planned. Lisa Massingill. So y'all gonna let this white woman, she done call us monkeys, niggas, thugs, criminals, and every goddamn thing else. And she say we ain't gonna vote.
All right, so I want to pause right there for a second. Oh, there are so many places I could take this. The heck of it is, he's got 13,000 views.
That's
Oh,
enough
he
of that.
does.
You
He
can
has
put us
quite
all
a
back up on
following.
the screen.
Yeah, all right. So let me get us back to our main screen. Okay, so let's pick this apart for a second.
Let's pick it apart.
One, have you called any of the black community or black folks any of those,
I have never
epithets
used it.
that we can't use on the show or we will get deplatformed?
No, I have never used the N word. Never. And when he says calling them not my circus, not my monkeys, there was a day somewhere on the page where somebody said, are you going to address, are you going to say something about something or another? And I said, that's not my circus or monkeys. And, just the saying that you use all the time, I wasn't calling someone a monkey. I was just using that saying that you use all the time. It wasn't a question directed at them. I just said, no, it's not my circus or monkeys. But they
we
took
we
it and
know
have
full
ran with it
well.
forever that I called them a monkey.
Yeah, well, look, yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm reading your mind, Duke. We literally use the phrase "see you next Tuesday." Well, actually, we didn't. One of our commenters on our show
guest.
did.
Okay.
Yeah, one of our guests. Anyway, and that got blown out of thing. Literally, the term "see you next Tuesday." So we won't go down that path, but so we can
So
appreciate
I have
that,
called them thugs and criminals
right?
because I do consider them to be that.
Sure.
So he
Okay,
is the
but
president
wait a
of a
minute.
group.
But wait a minute, Lisa. You called them thugs, but didn't they admittedly? I saw a video where they went on here and they said we're going to go thugging on all these people or something to that
Yes,
effect.
we're
I
thugging
mean,
for Whitehorn.
the right thugging for Whitehorn. Now,
Mm-hmm.
to me, I mean, look, I'm obviously I'm not black. I'm automatically a racist because I'm white. But when someone says they're going to go thugging, to me that means you're going to commit violence or you're going to be something of that nature. That's the way I take that. I mean, am I wrong there?
I don't think so.
Well, I mean, by definition, to go thugging, don't you have to be a thug to go thugging?
You would think.
I mean, I wasn't raised in Houghton there, Mr. Lowry, but I would think.
Yeah, I'm just making the point. Lisa's being accused of being a racist. She's accused of calling, African Americans every foul name that I want to point out that they use to call each other, I said they, but the truth of the matter, we could show countless videos of, and I don't know the individual that we showed that video, but we can show countless videos where he uses all the terminology that he's accusing Lisa, and I'm sure after this we will be accused, and that's fine. We're big boys, we can wear it. But you know, it's the language. It's the language that they use. Like when we were falsely accused of using "See you next Tuesday," we correctly labeled it the language of rats, right?
Yes, we did. Hey, if we're going to be accused of it, we're going to own it in a big way.
I owned it. I said it. It's just a phrase. I mean, we all say it. Not
All
my
right.
circus, not my monkeys. I didn't, you know.
All right. So, yeah, and people, look, of course, and I'm a big proponent of social media, obviously, but people will take anything on social media and try to take the ball and run with it, and they do that to gin up their base. I mean, everybody does it. We do it, So, I would just play it up to that. Now, have you seen, I don't know how old I didn't pay attention to the date of that video. Has anybody protested your house yet?
Have they protested my what?
Have they protested in front of your house or anything yet?
No, that's probably about the I've lost count how many times he's threatened protesting. He has done one video where he's done numerous videos where he has threatened to send people to my husband's office and protest in front of it, because if I'm a racist and don't like black people, then how can my husband possibly take care of black people and provide them adequate care? So people need to know that. So they were going to do that, go to where he, practices. He has tried to give out his cell phone number, but he gave out the wrong cell phone number. They have given out our home address. They've tried to give out our grandchildren's address. They have told everyone I'm a meth head and that I don't live at home with my husband, but he's right in there in case y'all need to know. They did that today. I don't live at home with my husband and I need to go back to rehab. I didn't even know I've ever used meth or been in rehab, but apparently I have, in case anybody's wondering.
What is the point of trying to advertise your home, or your home address, or where you're at? What is the intent of that, do you think?
I don't know. I guess it's to intimidate me or scare me. I don't know, but it doesn't faze me.
All right, so
Is
hold
it
on
to
just
try to
ho-
is it to try to encourage violence against you, or someone to
I
commit
think it's to
violence?
no,
And
he has blatantly said in his videos, y'all need to go do her just like y'all do other black women and go get her. He has blatantly said that in videos.
all right, so not to change the subject totally, but our good friend Chris Crackman's in the comments, and he says, of course, he's Caddo commissioner now. Says, is that the young man the Shreveport City Council just gave $15,000 to? Does
He is
anybody know?
correct. He is correct. So the man whose video you just played is the president of a nonprofit organization, and they have done nothing but campaign for Henry Whitehorn primarily. The city council just gave that group $15,000 3 weeks ago.
That's crazy. But nothing really surprises me in Shreveport or Caddo Parish at this point. All right, so enough about the folks that are not happy with you supporting Nickelson or calling out Whitehorn on Facebook or whatever the case may be.
So
Let's get back to the race and
right.
why having Nickelson or Whitehorn is a good or bad idea. What is your opinion on that?
Okay, so for John Nickelson, what I see in him is, and this is very important to me, is someone who's going to be fiscally conservative. I was on the fence when Sheriff Prater announced, this is going to be the candidate I support. I was like, do what? Have you lost your ever loving mind? And so the more I got to know him in a few weeks, and now as we've gone on, we're 9 months into this, 6 months into this, I honestly find that he is the best candidate for the job, and he is very transparent. He is definitely going to be very conservative with the money. He has done his due diligence in getting to know the inner workings of the office of sheriff as best he can over the last 9 months. He has actually looked at the budget and learned what goes on. Henry Whitehorn hasn't taken 1 minute to try to sit down with Steve Prater before he left office to learn anything. He's given a lot of inaccurate information out when he speaks. That bothers me greatly. I think if you're going to speak to people, you need to speak from a place of knowledge and facts and not give out inaccurate information. I think
but
that I know.
Lisa,
Go ahead.
they advocate that Mr. Whitehorn has the years of experience from, I think, the state police, the Shreveport police chief, the marshal's office, CAO. I mean, all that experience. I mean, and doesn't that trump anybody, being able to be the sheriff? I mean,
But does all that experience matter if you don't know how to use it wisely?
Good point.
yeah.
So
He
look,
just
I'll say this. We interviewed John Nickelson a couple of weeks ago on Louisiana Watch, and I thought overall it was a good interview. I'll be honest, I was not very comfortable with his response to my litmus test for everybody, including the dog catcher, which is on the Second Amendment. He gave a pretty good response, but I'll have to say this: just looking at Whitehorn's history through the Perkins administration, just looking at that, to me, neither one is an ideal candidate. But I gotta say, I would have to lean, if I were voting in Caddo Parish, I would have to lean towards Nickelson, even though I'm not completely comfortable with his Second Amendment response.
I understand everybody, and I probably am with you on that Second Amendment response. And he knows I would tell him that. You still make everybody nervous over your Second Amendment issues. But I do believe he's come a long way in that
Right.
with a whole lot of, you know, education from different people. So I understand that, and I get it. And I would, if I could vote for him, I would have the same concerns. But the years Whitehorn spent with Perkins are extremely concerning,
Yeah. So
and they are scary.
let's get back to a little bit the role that the sheriff plays in law enforcement. So the majority of the crime, just looking at the numbers, and I don't have all the stats pulled in front of me, so bear with me. But the majority of the violent crime is actually in Shreveport itself. Caddo Parish is about average, let's say, but adding the Shreveport component in is what's driving up the violent crime. So how much we asked, I think either me or Duke asked this at Nickelson. I'll present the question to you. So what do you think the sheriff's role should be in addressing the crime situation in Shreveport itself? Because the crime in Caddo is not that high. It's really Shreveport. And what exactly can the sheriff do to help get things on the right track?
Well, the sheriff has managed to keep the crime in Caddo Parish low because he's always kept a rock solid command staff in patrol and in detectives. So the word among thieves is don't mess with Caddo, right?
Right.
That's just acknowledged among criminals. Don't mess with Caddo. Don't, like they know, don't mess with Bossier. How he could, Sheriff Prater has always been willing to work with Shreveport police. I think there has got to be some other way. I don't know how they could do it, but they have got to find a way to come a little more into the city. Sheriff Prater says we don't have the manpower, and I trust every word he says. But somehow they are going to have to find a way to do something to help address crime in the city. I think, sometimes you just need a fresh new set of eyes to look at something. And maybe that's where this would be advantageous, is to have a whole new sheriff, perhaps, maybe give it a fresh new set of eyes and to look at things. Something has to give with Shreveport, and maybe that's the sheriff's office helping. Down in New Orleans, the state police have come into New Orleans and started patrolling there in an effort to drive down crime. Maybe we need that in Shreveport.
Rex, go to that second book video that I showed, which was an interview, one of the few interviews that Whitehorn has done, and go to the 217 mark.
Okay.
And
just a second here. Let's see. I think I can do that. And let me make sure it's showing, and let me hit play. You ready?
Yeah.
Just tell me when to stop.
I think the big issues right now is the gun violence that we see a lot of our young folks engaged in, and human trafficking. Those are the two big issues that we're facing. The gun violence in particular, because the homicide rates are, almost at record levels, and people are afraid to even stop at red lights in their car because they don't know if somebody's going to pull up beside them with a weapon. These assault rifles that our young folks are using are very deadly. And so getting a handle on the gun violence, I think, is one of the main things we're going to do. And we're going to do it through several tactics that I'm not going to divulge all my plan, but force multiplying, working with our state, local, federal agencies to ensure that we are targeting the right individuals and getting those individuals off our streets.
Stop right there.
Making sure that we've got solid cases.
Okay, so he recognizes gun violence as being one of the primary things that he needs to do, and then he said he's talking about targeting individuals. Isn't that code word for something else?
It's got to be code for something. But here's the deal. He's talking about gun crimes. If your district attorney is not prosecuting those gun crimes to the fullest, and you're turning right around and putting those same people back on the street immediately and within days, and you just have this revolving door of justice for gun crimes, he can go take them off the street all day long, because that is what Shreveport Police is, their violent crimes unit is doing, and the Caddo Sheriff's Office is doing. The problem with that lies within the district attorney's office not doing their job. So he can sit up there and say, oh, we're going to do this. Well, you can do it all day long, Henry. But when James Stewart is doing catch and release, you're solving nothing. And I can show you those cases all day long. I could sit here and just line them up for you.
Let me play devil's advocate for just a second, but couldn't we say the same thing about Nickelson? Or any other candidate for sheriff, for that matter?
Oh, yeah, you can say it about any candidate. You can say it about any candidate.
Look,
I mean, Steve Prater has screamed about this for years now.
I was just gonna say, let's bring Prater into this. Nothing against Steve Prater; he's a great guy, but all this has happened under Steve Prater's watch.
Well,
right, and he
back
screamed about it. He went head to head with the DA over this. This is why the DA does not like Steve Prater. It's why he doesn't like me, because we're the two people screaming about it.
Well, Whitehorn had no influence while he was the CAO for the last 4 years in Shreveport. You're telling me that he couldn't have had any influence within the city of Shreveport? And I want to go back to the reason I said, isn't that code word? Isn't that just another way of saying stop and frisk?
It is another way of saying stop and frisk.
And how can you say it one way and criticize your opponent? If he just says it straight, who do you want? Somebody that's going to say it straight to you, or somebody that's going to beat around the bush in some kind of code word? I mean, Rex, go to the 329 mark, because here is the most significant thing that I think people need to know about Henry Whitehorn. And this is my take on it. We asked for an interview when we started going over there. I know that Louis Avalone and all those guys, they asked for an interview. I don't think he's been on Keel yet. I heard they were trying.
No, they just tried again and he refused. He said he'll come on after he's elected, when he's the sheriff. When he's the sheriff for everybody. Right now, he's just a candidate for the black people.
All right, here we go.
So, go ahead.
All right, 329 mark. Here we go.
Long period of time.
How do you plan to ensure transparency and accountability within the sheriff's department?
First of all, you got to have the right administrative procedures in place, working with our district attorney's office, working with the courts, ensuring that we are accessible to the public, and making sure that our policies are posted in a manner where everyone can see them. We don't have anything to hide. And so I just plan to be open and available to the community.
Okay.
Right. Open and available to the community. Oh, look, it sounds good in theory.
Accessible to the public, doesn't have anything to hide, and open and available to the community. So if a person is running for an office and he's not accessible to the public, or at least only to one faction of the public, he's not hiding anything, but in his campaign he is hiding things, and he's not open and available to the community. Why should anyone believe that he's going to do the same as the elected sheriff of Caddo Parish? It's not believable to me.
It's not believable. It's not.
So,
shouldn't he be campaigning to everyone?
All right, let's back this up for a second, because, I just brought up the point that, Prater was sheriff, while a lot of this crime was going on, and the rampant crime in Shreveport. But then again, I can't remember the exact years that Whitehorn was chief of police and all that, but arguably, well, a lot. Okay, so a lot of this crime happened under his watch too. I mean, well, I don't even know where to go with all this. I mean, how is the Caddo sheriff going to address the crime problem? I keep going back to this point. In Shreveport, if he's not in Shreveport doing it, isn't that the job of the SPD, which Whitehorn was leader of or chief of?
Yes. So, the sheriff's office and the SPD actually have an agreement that SPD handles everything inside the city, and the sheriff only comes in and assists if they ask for it. So basically, when the sheriff could not just come in and take over what's going on with crime. So you could say, well, where was the sheriff when all this crime is so high? SPD would have to ask them. And then manpower is so short, they would have to leave the outermost ranges of the parish shorthand, uncovered to come in and assist with the city, right? Because everybody is shorthanded. That's one problem you have to remember. Um, the parish, they solve their crime problems.
Well,
The city,
I,
I don't know where you start to solve it. It's
yeah,
the
this is a
city is the
complex
problem.
problem.
It's a very complex problem. I think the city and the SPD, I hear this over and over and over because I get private messages all the time from people who are scared to be vocal because they'll get in trouble at work, or the black people will pick on them or things. And they said, SPD needs to be overhauled. That's the biggest problem. That's the biggest complaint I hear all the time is Shreveport police needs to be overhauled. You know, um,
Well,
and I don't know how true that is.
and that's a fair point. Teresa Brock Neville says 150 officers short. I don't know if that's true or not. I would
That is
imagine
true.
it.
That is a true. That is fact.
Yeah. All right. Go ahead, dude.
Well, I'm just going to say it like it is. I don't. I think it's all about race in Caddo Parish. I mean, it seems like it always is. This race has been made about race. It shouldn't be about race, but the reality is that is what we're talking about here.
But
And
who did that?
you know,
The white people didn't do
oh,
that. Let's say what it is. Let's speak the truth.
right, and the white people are not saying this is a race about white people. White people take over. White people stay in control. The advocates for Whitehorn are saying the black people are going to rise up. We're going to make this the black town and blah, 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 blah. I mean, they're advocating the racial component of this. It's not supposed to be that way. It's supposed to be about we elect representatives for everybody. Now, I don't fault black folks. They have a predisposition to want to vote for a black person. I get that.
Correct. They
But they should
do. They do.
also they should also consider, the positions and the merits of what the candidate is standing for. It's just like that thing about prison overcrowding is going to be solved if Whitehorn is elected after Labor
It's
Day.
not.
How is that? How
Well,
is
let's
it? Are you just going to go
Just
ahead?
going to let everybody go?
let's talk about the jail overcrowding. Let's talk about that because I know a little bit about it. So in 2022, November 2022, the sheriff asked for the Department of Justice to come in and do a report because it had been done about 10 years previously on the jail overcrowding situation because it had reached a level that it can no longer be sustained. It was so crowded and packed in. And he wanted to know come in and look and tell us what we need to do. And so the only person who bucked the Department of Justice coming in and doing the study was who? James Stewart. So in November, that study was released, and we can put a link up. I'll put it up on Mama Bears. It's been up before. They released that study. The problem was not the sheriff. The problem was the amount of cases and how long they are taking to move through the system in Caddo Parish. The amount of criminals, the amount of people being booked into the jail was less than ever, but it was taking longer to get them moved through the system. That rests solely on James Stewart and the judges' backs.
Yeah.
That's what it is, and you can go read that. There were
Well,
less felony cases.
sounds like
Um,
after the sheriff's election, I don't know when Stewart comes up for re-election or when the DA
two
does.
years.
2 years. Okay. So it sounds like the next effort that Caddo Mama Bears and everybody else, and we need to keep an eye on it on Louisiana Watch, needs to be getting James Stewart out of office and somebody that's better qualified, in my opinion.
Correct. That's why the CCC is so overcrowded. It is not the sheriff. The sheriff's job is to arrest criminals and detain them. After they're detained, it is up to the judges and the district attorney. You cannot
Right.
fault Sheriff Steve Prater or whoever the sheriff is. That lies solely on the district attorney and the judges. And nothing has, they've made recommendations. Nothing. I don't see anything when I'm watching cases and doing research. I don't see anything has changed.
Right. So let me. Oh,
Just
go ahead, Nick.
justice viewed through the prism of skin color is not justice and never will be. I mean, that's the bottom
No.
line. And
Amen.
Caddo Parish will never ever crawl out of the quote unquote ratchet city, idea or or name for it until race is not the view of everyone's eye there. I mean, and the majority of people in Caddo Parish, I'm sorry, that's the view that they have.
Right.
And there's one more thing we need to bring up. We haven't brought this up because crime is the big thing that the most of us look at when we're thinking of this sheriff's race. But I'm going to say it because it needs saying, and I'm the mama bear that will say it. I have no filter some days. This race for Henry Whitehorn and his buddies, his Shanerica Fleming, his Lynn Braggs, and that whole gang of people. This is about the budget and the money and the contracts that the sheriff's office holds. That is what they want their hands on. They really, for the most part, they don't care about crime. We need to be real here and we need to be honest. The amount of millions of dollars that they can get their hands on if he wins as sheriff, that's what they are after. That's why it is so
Mm.
important to them, because there are people who stand to make a lot of money if they can get him in as sheriff and they can take over the commissary service or the phone service. That's what they want, people. They don't care about if your grandfather goes to jail or your brother's in there extra 6 months. They want those commissary contracts, those laundry contracts, that phone contract. That is what they are after. And if you watch that MJ the Thug, he tells you that in those videos. There are videos. I can play them for you. We're going to get that money. That's our black money, and it's time for us to have it. He knows
Oh,
this. He thinks he's been promised contracts out of the jail, that Henry Whitehorn's going to give him contracts. So let's
all.
be honest. It's
Yeah.
money behind it.
Always
Money.
follow the money. That's
Follow the
always it.
money trail.
Well, I think that hit the nail on the head, and I think that's where everyone, if you're on the fence, I think you probably should, look at the content of what the different partisans with each campaign are saying, and if you agree with that, if it's content regarding race, if that's your thing, and then nothing's going to change your mind. If you agree with that it should be based off of skin color, nothing's going to change your mind. If you think that it should be viewed through the prism of whether or not people are supporting people and trying to motivate you because they may or may not going to be getting financial reward for supporting this candidate or that should be a motivating factor. Um, but which way you choose, that's on you. That's on you, the voter. I mean, you've got to live with the decision you make, and you're either being a hypocrite or you're being loyal to your city and trying to move it in the right direction. And at the end of your days, you're going to have to answer for that decision. It's on you.
Yeah.
I hope you make the right decision.
So
Well, at the end
Lisa,
of the day, go ahead.
oh well, I was going to say as we start to wrap it up and all that, what is the continuing goal of Caddo Mama Bears? I mean, after this election, whether it's Whitehorn or Nickelson, and by the way, if you want to make a prediction, go ahead and feel free to do so. But
It's going to be Nicholson.
what is the continuing goal of the Caddo Mama Bears group on Facebook? And do you also allow? Is it just Mama Bears, or can it be a few Daddy Bears as well?
We want daddy bears too, because I believe the world needs daddies and mamas involved. You know, that's important. And if we had more daddies involved with the baby bears, we might not be in this position, right? Um, going forward, when March 24th, we're still going forward because we need to change the landscape of what's going on. And children need a chance in Shreveport. Shreveport needs a chance to be all that it can be. I still believe Shreveport can be better than it is right now, but we're not going to get businesses here, and we're not going to be better than we are until we solve some of this crime. And right now, being lost that do not have to be lost, even white ones. And so I will be here fighting for them, along with all the other mama bears that are behind me. My family was touched by violence. I can't speak on it because it's an active case. I will when that goes to trial. But, my family lost someone to violence, and I'll fight for anybody because the human life is valuable and precious, and every life is worth fighting for. And this is the platform I choose to fight on. And we just all need to stand up, and we can do it together. It doesn't have to be based on color. It's our hearts all look the same inside, and we need to remember that and quit looking at skin color.
Amen to that. Mr. Lowry, any closing comments for our guest?
Thank you, Lisa. We'll be watching
You're
and for the outcome, and maybe after the race and down the road, you'll have to come back on as a guest again.
I would love to. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you coming on, Lisa, and sharing what's going on. It's been a very interesting conversation, and yeah, like Duke said, we'll be glad to have you back on anytime.
Anytime.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, did we solve Shreveport's crime problems?
I don't think we even came close.
I don't think we did either, but it was interesting. I learned a little bit.
I think we got insight. There's always two sides to the story, and, it seems like one side is louder than the other in this race over there. And I don't know, this is the way it seems on social media a little bit. And but just because you can scream louder doesn't make you right. It doesn't at all.
That is very true. Very true. All right. Anything else we want to share with our guests for the evening? We've been running about 30-something people. That's not too bad for a Thursday night discussing Caddo politics. So,
well, hey, I think the brim are up on the beds. I have been seeing boats like parked all out in front of my house. I think the brim are up.
It is getting to be that time, and hopefully we will be able to get out there and catch some big old bass on Caney Lake. We need to do an outdoor news show before too long addressing some of the things going on down here around Caney Lake. It's always pretty positive usually. So anyway.
Yeah, we better start doing some of them because we've got a big outdoor news guest to interview that everybody, if you care about the outdoors, I mean, we need to at least have a couple of shows out there so folks will, know.
Yeah,
I hate to get this a big fancy guest on and we don't have anybody watching because it's like, I didn't know the Outdoor News did a live show.
I know. We got to get on that tech guy and the guy that's responsible for all that. So get him off the lake and back behind the keyboard a little bit.
Even the tech guy needs a break every now and then. Hey, everybody, thank y'all for watching tonight. We appreciate it. Hope it was informative. Thank you, Caddo Mama Bears and Lisa Massingill for coming on.
Yes, I agree. Thanks, everybody, for watching. And I don't have the Louisiana Watch site up right now, even though it's down there in the bottom of the show. But I'll have that up hopefully this week. And anyway, we'll keep moving forward with Louisiana Watch. Like Duke said, join us on the Outdoor News as I start pushing out some content there. And also join us Tuesday nights for Bossier Watch if you're interested in Bossier politics as well. We get on our soapbox about an hour sometimes more than an hour every Tuesday night. All right, Mr. Lowry. Very interesting as usual. Good night. See y'all later.